anyway, we'll move on to Vikings at Colts -3. This line opened up -2.5, and now it's up to a field goal. But there's a ton of public action on the Vikings. So the Vikings are a publicly backed road underdog. So who do you like here?
I like the Colts, and that's music to my ears. That we've got a public dog on the books right here. Look, both these teams are coming off losses, but the Colts loss was significantly worse than the Vikings loss. Like, I always thought the Vikings were going to lose to the Packers for reasons we'll talk about later when the Packers come up. But I mean, the Colts lost to the Jaguars, who have traded away most of their talented players. And like, it's just how does this happen? Like, you know, part of it's Gardner Minshew not turning the ball over. But there really are three reasons for the Colts. They had untimely turnovers. They couldn't force turnovers. And their running game wasn't that good. Once they lost Marlon Mack, I think they were kind of a little bit like, oh, wow, we can't really do much between the tackles. So they used more of the running backs in the passing game, which worked to an extent, but it didn't work enough. I feel like these issues are fixable, though, for Frank Reich. I trust him. He's a great coach. So I think he's going to focus on Phillip Rivers' turnovers in the run game, and if they can cut down on those things, they should be better suited to win this week. I think the Vikings are going to have to ride some of that fourth quarter momentum they built against the Packers, but that was really pseudo garbage time. They were trailing 29-10 in the fourth quarter, and then the Packers just kind of kept them at an arm's length for the rest of that game. They never came within double digits. Despite piling up 34 total points. It was really more of the Packers just trying to prevent them from scoring quickly more than anything else. And I think given the youth that Minnesota has at corner, I think Rivers, a savvy veteran, should be able to take advantage of that, especially if Reich gets him to throw to T.Y. Hilton more. I think Indy's going to bounce back. The Vikings will continue to look for answers, though I do trust that Mike Zimmer will get this team turned around eventually because he's also a very good coach. I'm just still going with the Colts -3, probably only one unit, maybe two, because of the public dog factor. But I do like the Colts in this circumstance.
Yeah, I feel like if you replayed Colts Jaguars 10 times, I think the Colts will win more often than not. If you replayed Packers Vikings 10 times, you know, the Packers just dumpster fired the Vikings. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, I think the Packers win 9 out of 10 times, maybe even 10 out of 10 times. Like, the Vikings look so much worse than I thought they would be. Like, I don't know what's going on with them. Like, I know they're missing Michael Pierce, which is like why the run defense isn't as good. And Daniel Hunter is also missing. So they have two defensive linemen who are out, which is, that's definitely a big deal, especially if you have to go against either a good quarterback or a great offensive line. And the Colts definitely have the latter. And Phillip Rivers actually played pretty decently last week, except for the 2 turnovers. So I think with the Vikings looking worse, but not just defensively, but also offensively. I think Stephon Diggs missing is a big deal. Like, we saw what the Texans look like without Hopkins, and now we see what the Vikings look like without Diggs. It's just a big downgrade that they have. And all defense have to do is worry about Adam Thielen. And I don't know where Justin Jefferson is either. Like, why is Olabisi Johnson playing over Justin Jefferson? It's just very confusing. The Vikings weren't running the ball as well as I thought they would. And I think the Colts they should have a good run defense with DeForest Buckner. Like, they just didn't seem like they were fully invested in that Jacksonville game. I think they took that for granted. I think they just believed that they were going to go into Jacksonville and win because they heard about how bad Jacksonville was going to be. So I think, coming off that loss, I feel like they're going to rebound, especially with the Vikings being a publicly backed dog. The one thing that's preventing me from going big on the Colts is that it's the dynamic I was talking about earlier, where you have a new quarterback. So, like, is Rivers going to have some miscommunications and throw interceptions because of that? Like, I think that could happen for sure, which is why I'm going to be a little conservative with this bet. But I still think the Colts are the right size, so I'm with you.
Yeah, it just makes too much sense. And one thing about Phillip Rivers too, though, he's always had interceptions throughout his career. Like, there have been times and seasons where he's totally just cut out interceptions, and it's been like, wow, he's looked great this year. But last year he threw a ton of interceptions, and it was a little bit of a problem for the Chargers, but it wasn't the major problem for the team. I feel like if he can avoid throwing multiple picks for the Colts, they should more often than not be able to win and cover. But I think you're right. They just weren't ready for Jacksonville. They took him for granted, overlooked him a little bit, even though they're a divisional rival. And Gardner Minshew just doesn't make mistakes. Like, it's always tough to play a quarterback like that. Like, you may not be the best physical talent, but that dude just does not throw interceptions. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's so frustrating, especially when you have Colts defense in most of your lineups. It's just very agonizing. I disagree with Doug saying they only have T.Y. Hilton. Like, Paris Campbell had a great game last week. Like, he's legit. He was a second round pick last year. He was hurt. Now he's healthy. So they have him. Jack Doyle rules. Don't forget about him. And then Naeem Hines and Jonathan Taylor. Like that, the Colts have a bunch of weapons on offense, plus one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So I definitely disagree with that.